Hola, mi gente nogalense. Hey, everybody, it's me, El Gringo Más Mexicano. Welcome back to my show. You guys might not know this, but this is the first episode of us getting back to our regularly scheduled programming for El Gringo Más Mexicano. Now, this is, we kind of had a break. We've done special segments, we've done, special programming, things like that, but we're finally getting back to our regular programming. And I'm excited that this is going to be the first show with you guys. So it's Recovery Month, right? And my guests today are from SOSA by Mariposa, which is...
It is the Santa Cruz County Overcoming Substance Addiction Consortium.
Consortium, okay. And we've got Ryan Quick, Luis Caxiola, and Karina Cañas, right?
Right.
Yes. And I'm really, really excited to talk to you guys about it. But of course, we've got some things we got to cover first, right? Like I said, we've been out for a while. We haven't talked about events. We haven't talked about news, and we've got a few things to cover. So first and foremost is we are currently in, starting September 15th all the way to October 15th, Hispanic Heritage Month, which, I mean, everything here is Hispanic heritage, right? I mean, it's a major part of it's obviously a major part of world history that's often ignored, which I'm glad that we have. I mean, it should always be celebrated, of course, right? But this month we especially need to take the time to appreciate the contributions that La Raza have contributed to society. Also, we've got coming up Sonora's Culinary Heritage at the Tubac Presidio on October 7th. That's going to be cool. It's going to be talking about the food that's come out from Sonora, the culture that's linked to it, which pues ya sabemos, no? It's a huge part of who we are here. And that's going to be really cool. Then on October 13th and 14th, the Festival Binacional de Moda y Arte is going to be a big celebration on both sides of the border, in ambos Nogales. It's going to be huge. It's going to be really cool. And then finally, the 11th annual Nogales Bicycle Classic on October 14th. Mariposa is a big sponsor for it, of course. And I will be there again. This is I think my fourth time as the MC for the event. So that's going to be, I've been told that I am officially, I can't speak today, huh? Officially the permanent MC. Yeah. So I'm excited about to do that again. It's always really, really fun. And it gives me such a good excuse not to enter the race. For more information on all of these events, go to We Love Nogales Facebook page. We've got all the flyers. We've got everything that you need to know. Oh, and of course, Nogi Fest is coming up, which you guys know about Nogi Fest?
Yeah.
Yes. It's going to be so cool. It's the first time that we're doing this. The city of Nogales is putting it. It's going to be at Cordova Park. Mm-hmm. There's going to be booths. There's going to be live music. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. So more information on all those things. One more thing I forgot: National Day of Remembrance for Murder Victims is coming up. Now this flyer is also going to be on the Wheel of Nogales, and we'll have the date. We'll have all the information. We'll have everything that you need to know right there. Sorry, I forgot to put those events in there. Had to get them right there. Thank goodness for Edgardo behind the camera to remind me. All right, so getting into news. I've only got 2 news items today, but they're pretty big. The first is, I don't know if you guys are aware, but there was a bank robbery recently at Walmart. Yes. There's one suspect in custody and one suspect still at large. And then the biggest news that really happened over the weekend is, you may have noticed if you were downtown, a large groups of people gathering along the side of the street. Now these groups are asylum seekers that have been cleared for legal entry into the United States. And they've always been dropped off, like in Nogales and things like that. And there's a relationship between Santa Cruz County and Pima County to transport them, to help them get to where they need to go. Because most of them aren't here to stay, right? They're looking for other places. But a change in policy has made it so that larger and larger groups are being dropped off at a time. Now, sometimes they have to wait up to, hours to finally get this transportation. So they don't have food, they don't have shelter or anything like that. And it's we don't want it to turn into a crisis. Nobody wants to. So there's organizations that are trying to help, including the City of Nogales, Crossroads Mission, the Food Bank. a lot of these immigrants, they aren't just from Mexico or Central and South America. They're immigrants from African nations. They're immigrants from India. And the language barriers also become rather difficult. But thank goodness there are organizations that are helping out. There are, communities that are helping. And if you would like to find out more about how you can help, go ahead and contact the Crossroads Mission or the City of Nogales for further information for that. Now, another thing I forgot, there's one more event that I forgot. This is news as much as it is the event, is the Arizona at Work for Santa Cruz County is going to be doing the job fair coming up. Now, when we're a big part of this too. We're going to be there. We're going to be broadcasting. It's going to be such a cool event. There's going to be all kinds of employers that are connecting with the community, connecting job seekers with employers, which is so important to all communities and to not just economically, but even for mental health, even for recovery and things like that. All right, so that's it for the news and events. Let's jump right into the interview. So let's start off with Recovery Month. What is Recovery Month?
So Recovery Month is for the month of September, and it's celebrating the recovery journey for those with substance use disorder or even mental health conditions. So it's celebrating the fact that everyone's path and journey through this is going to be different, but it's possible. Recovery and healing is possible. There's so many ways that people can access resources. There's different ways people can practice recovery, and that's going to always look different for other people. But we want to have this month to celebrate the fact that if this is something that you're interested in, this is the path that you want to seek, recovery is there, and that there's all these different agencies that are here to support people for that.
Very, very cool. So what is the SOSA Consortium?
So
how do they play a role?
So s.o.s.a has started in 2019, and it's a group of different agencies locally and also from parts of the state and the nation. And what we focus on is prevention, treatment, and recovery for substance use disorder. We're focusing on opioid use since there's that epidemic happening, but it branches out into all types of substances and treatment, prevention, messaging, recovery, and stuff. So we have different agencies, so Mariposa, Hope, Pinal Hispanic Council, Nogales Police Department, the Sheriff's Department, Rio Rico Fire, Nogales Fire, the schools, all types of agencies are involved. Anyone that has a responsibility or an interest or a part in helping is involved, right? So we meet monthly and we work on different areas to help youth, to help adults access all these different resources in our community and have more of a strategic approach in how we help people. So instead of all these agencies working by themselves, we come to the table and we think of ways to work together, close those gaps, and really maximize our resources.
So I was actually having a conversation yesterday about similar to this, is that when it comes to recovery, some of the hardest part, especially if your recovery or your addiction is also linked to a conviction of some sort, how difficult it is to reintegrate and how society isn't necessarily structured for reintegration. And it leads to essentially back to the same path, because if you're looking for survival, and you only are given one path to go, that's the path that you take. So what does s.o.s.a do that helps people? What is the recovery process and the reintegration process for things like this?
Yeah, so I think by having all these different organizations together, like we work with the Justice Court program, we work with Circles of Peace, and they have different programs that are helping people either divert from going into jail or into something within the judicial process towards recovery, right? They're trying to promote that, depending on the situation, of course. And then also having all of our organizations like Hope, who does all this who's a peer agency, they have that process and that lived experience to actually help people navigate where they can go throughout this life cycle, right? So instead of, like you said, falling back into this cycle of, they have maybe a mental health condition, they have substance use disorder, they've been in and out of jail, there's homelessness involved, maybe there's violence in the home. There's all these things that we know that impact the future and well-being.
Of course, yeah.
But we have professionals here that can connect and really use tools to help people break out of that cycle and help their families learn about that stigma that goes with it. And that recovery journey, that process will always be different for everyone. But by having those candid conversations and figuring out that tailored approach, that's huge. And with SOSA, we're trying to figure out how we can maximize all these resources, not so that's one size fit all, but that way as we work with people, our organizations can have more of that tailored approach. So if they need medical, if they need behavioral support, if they need jobs and they need to go to that job fair, how is it that all these agencies know what's going on and can work together for that?
That's awesome. I think that's important because nothing is one-dimensional, right?
No.
Especially when it comes to mental health or addiction.
Yeah.
It's not a one-dimensional thing. It needs to be addressed from all things, and you touched on so many different things. Yeah. I think the peer program, that's very cool that there's a peer program because, and in fact, the conversation I was having yesterday is that when you reach out to the peers who can help you, right? And if the peers who can help you are the ones who will, lead you back down that path, and that's difficult, but having a peer program of people who have been through it, who understand it, they're not looking on the outside and telling you what you need to do.
Exactly.
It's somebody who has lived it, who has been through it, who knows it. I'd like to hear more about that.
So at Hope, that's the beauty of it, right? It's a peer and family run organization, which you're right on the dot. A peer support is basically somebody with lived experience, somebody who gives services and receives services. Something that we work on a lot, specifically on this topic, is we call it reentry. For people who is being released from prison or even from county who didn't get sent to prison. But we assist them in navigating through the system, like Ryan was saying. Like, for example, we understand that a lot of the services that are needed, because we practice voice and choice. So it's that fingerprint. Everybody's is different, right? So we take that process of kind of, okay, well, let's help you identify your needs first, right? And we help them, to the aspect of like, okay, let's get you an ID. Let's get you insurance. And then after that, it's kind of like, okay, so now that you've identified your needs, like we focus on like, well, let's make sure that you're physically well. So let's get you checked up. So we start referring out as well. And as well in the process as helping them adjust. And the beautiful thing about this whole thing is you're very right. We do have lived experience. And like I said, I still got the scars to prove it, But yeah, it's basically, it's what we call the ultimate weapon. It's the therapeutic value of one addict helping another.
That's awesome. That's incredible. And these tailored experiences, there is no blueprint for anybody. There's no template that can be followed. Right. I think that is probably one of the most important parts of this program. From my perspective, is the fact that it's takes the time to cater the recovery process to the individual. So, as the question I was about to ask kind of was asked, so what's the template? But what does the process look like? You followed me you took me through the peer program a little bit, but what does the process look like?
So I think it depends, right? So everyone's different, like we said, and people might access different agencies through different points in their life, right? So someone might go to Mariposa Community Health Center and they might be seeking MAT services, which is a medication-assisted treatment program for those that use opioids. So they might come into the program that way, right? They're seeking the service. They're going to get behavioral health. They're going to get medical. They're going to get access to all these different resources. And then we're going to plug in, well, what else do they need? They need peer support. They might need information from the Justice Court program, so we're going to plug them in that way. They're going to work with them, and they might realize, okay, this person needs food box. Let's connect with the food bank. They need, different resources for a job. They don't have a GED or whatever the case may be. Let's get them to Arizona at Work. So all these agencies that work together, wherever it is that you're going through in this process or the system, if you're letting people know that you're looking for help, we should all be well connected to get you where you need to go.
For sure.
Whatever that looks like. whether it's just behavioral health, whether it's just peer support, whether it's a combination of different things, whether it's housing. I need information on housing first before I work on all these other issues. We all try to work together and plug you in and just kind of pick up where the next person left off, if need be.
So most of the people who go through these programs or go through SOSA, are they referred to through the criminal justice system or through addiction counseling?
So it depends, right? So SOSA is a consortium, right? So we're just working together, right?
Yeah.
So it's not an actual program per se.
Yeah.
It's a network of agencies that's working. But all the different referrals and stuff come from different areas, really.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of people or a lot of places and organizations have walk-ins, might have referrals from criminal justice system.
Yeah.
Law enforcement might make a referral to one of us. I know that that they'll contact us if they're seeing that they can't help in their ways. So it really just depends.
Of course.
It might be from a concerned family member or spouse who might say, I need education for myself. That way I can figure out and have the tools to help my loved one also. So it all
Very cool.
depends.
So, and my next question was, if there is somebody who's watching this right now who is struggling with addiction, right? And they're not to the point where they've been forced into a rehab or they've been arrested or something like that, but they know they have a problem and they want to recover.
Yeah.
How do they reach out? Who do they reach out to?
So I would recommend going to our website, which is s.o.s.a.heal.org. And that website has all of the community resources and agencies for substance use and behavioral health.
Okay.
So there's a tab on there called Hotlines 24/7. You click on that and it's going to give you all the numbers and descriptions so you know who you're calling. And then there's even tabs on recovery and behavioral health services, and that's going to get you more information about those agencies specifically. So SOSAHeal.org is a great starting point, and there's also general information about different substances or about the consortium, about what we do. If you're a parent, there's some tips about talking to your kids or warning signs and things like that.
Well, that was going to be actually my next question. If you're a parent or you know somebody, you have a friend or a loved one or something like that that is struggling, obviously that's a sensitive issue to handle. You can't but for information to help them, what do? You go to the same thing, SOSAHeal.org?
Go to SOSAHeal.org. I think it's a great starting point because it's going to give you all these different options, and you're going to kind of be able to figure out which one makes more sense. And if you're still struggling at that point, if you're like, I don't know what to do, just call one of the agencies, and you're going to get connected with someone that can help you kind of figure out where you need to go. I think HOPE is a wonderful starting point, honestly, because of the work that you guys do and the access to all the resources that you guys have. I think they're a wonderful place to start for our community.
Okay.
What about, am I missing anything? What do you guys think?
I mean, so we actually provide an outreach support. So a lot of the time, say for example, again, this is like with working with all the agencies. We work like side by side with Mariposa, for example, when they have somebody who they have identified, like, oh, you know what, he's struggling with substance, and I don't think they identify it yet. So, and we're just coming from a background, like, we don't tend to listen to anybody that hasn't walked our shoes.
Yeah.
So they'll reach out to us, and we're on our way. So we show up, and then it's kind of like educating, like, hey, you see me, I talk your language, I walked in your shoes, I know what it takes. So then just doing some outreaching in that aspect. Also, we get a lot of walk-ins, just asking questions and identifying what stage of change they're on, because sometimes, like you were saying, like, they might not be ready.
Yeah.
But we identify what stage they're on and then help them kind of progress into the next stage. So it's like pre-contemplation, contemplation, planning, action, and maintenance.
Yeah, and see, that's one of the things is really cool too, because it's not like this is just a crisis. It's not like you guys are a crisis network. No. You are there for every step, whatever step they are at, whether it's, the beginning to post-crisis,
Yeah, and we said we do the prevention, treatment, and recovery, right? That's our 3 focus points. And prevention is key, right? We don't want people to get into substances and things like that, because we know that it can lead down a path that's not healthy. But we also know reality that that's not always going to happen. People are going to make choices for a million different reasons. And treatment is there. That's an option. It's something that works. And recovery is possible. I think sometimes people want a magic wand, or they think if you call an agency, we're going to be able to fix it like that. But it really is a process, and it's not an easy one. But there are people in this community that are here to help people walk through that process. And just educating yourself and listening and being empathetic, because it's such a more complex issue than I think we want to admit. And it's huge, and our community really does care about this population, because that's our family, that's our friends.
Of course.
It's not other, it's us, and we have to be a part of that solution.
Now, speaking on that, the family friends thing, I think this is a very important aspect that should be discussed. Is this is a conversation I've had with people when it comes to mental health, when it comes to addiction recovery and things like that. Is it's a small community. So people are concerned about confidentiality. They're concerned about el chisme, no? So I'm sure you guys have procedures, and what kind of confidentiality procedures do you guys have to ensure that that people's privacy is protected?
Well, within our own agencies, right?
Of
We all
course.
have our policies, procedures, HIPAA, this, that.
That's the main one.
HIPAA would be
Yeah.
the main one.
Yeah, of
You
course.
can get fired.
Yeah,
You get fired.
You can. A lot
We all have bills
agencies
to pay.
can be sued.
Yeah.
And besides that, that's just not. It's designed right
Yeah.
for. You guys your programs are designed
To keep that confidentiality, because that's
course.
huge, right? It's part of their safety,
Yeah.
confidence, trust, and it's just a right that you have.
Exactly.
And then also within that, so SOSA is a consortium. When we're talking about projects, we're talking about projects, right? But we have all this access to work together as a team for individuals, but that's based on if the individual wants agencies to communicate.
Right.
So if Mariposa is working with Hope, it's not because we decided to do that. It's because that person says, I need you two to talk,
Yeah.
and there's forms and all
Of course.
things like that, right? So confidentiality is huge. I think the other good part is that all of our agencies do so many things that you don't know why someone's there.
No,
It
of
could be
course.
for a variety of reasons.
Yep.
So,
And
yeah.
I mean, the important thing is that they need help,
yeah,
and you guys are all there to help them.
exactly.
All right. So, Recovery Month is the entire month of September, or when does it start? When does
It's
it
all
end?
of September.
It's all of September. Okay. And again, of course, recovery is not a 1 month thing. It's year round. Do you guys have anything to add?
Yes.
La Karina no hizo nada.
No, no he hecho
No hizo
nada.
nada.
Es que, verás, qué raro. I'm drawing blanks. I really am. I think when you guys were mentioning about que van a decir, that's the stigma that we face all the
Of
time.
course.
We are so fearful of being judged just to say, hey, I need help. It's one of the hardest things that I had to do to begin with. So the whole being able to see what agencies are out there that offer the support that we do is, I think it's a blessing, and that I was able to find a place like that and find recovery myself, but programs like this, I think it's try to save as many as we can right now. It's really sad and emotional for me, like just hearing about people falling left and right, and then people fall through the cracks because they're like, no, pues a lot of people give up on people like us. They do. They get tired, and I understand. It's understandable because we've put our family members and the community through so much because of all the stuff that we did. But I think that if people would know that there's a lot of us who are in recovery that maybe have done worse things than they have, just reach out, man. Your fingers aren't broken, man. You can call. Phone's not that heavy. You guys can call. It's like,
It's the hardest, easiest thing to do, right?
yeah.
One thing that I could say about that stigma, and it's whether it's addiction, mental health, it's that stigma's strong,
Yeah.
and it does prevent a lot of people just because que van a pensar de mí, But I will say this: in my personal experience, my professional experience, my studies, my research, everything like that, addiction doesn't just happen, right? And it can happen to anyone.
It doesn't discriminate.
It doesn't discriminate. And nobody I've ever met who's struggled with addiction is a lesser person. You know, in fact, they're some of the smartest. They're some of the wisest, because they have a perspective that you guys have a perspective that no one else has, and it's a powerful perspective that has value. And I want to thank you guys for using that to help others. So you guys specifically, that's pretty awesome.
We're here to break the stigma. We do recover.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
It's for this program, for everything that you guys do. This whole network is such an incredible resource.
It is. It's awesome. I mean, resources are there. People just have to utilize them. Last week, I know we were talking about this earlier, or last month, we did a whole month for overdose awareness for August. And some examples of what the consortium did was by working together, some of the agencies, we were able to do a talk on Maxima radio, and Luis was involved in that one, and they were interviewing some moms of people whose sons passed away from overdose, right? And they were able to really get that experience and share what they went through. That was awesome. Another event that we did was a youth basketball tournament. So some youth, we got them out there exercising, playing, having fun, and then they also shared a video and some messaging about overdose and substance use. There was also a silent campaign with a bunch of youth groups, NYC, YADA, some teen health facilitators from Mariposa, Hope was there, who else was there? There was a bunch of us. Circles of Peace, yeah, our families.
Yeah, that's
and we
awesome.
were all outside on the corner, outside of Walgreens with some posters, just spreading awareness. And then we had our proclamation and health fair event also. So, I mean, those are just some things that we did in 1 month, but
Yeah,
there's
of
all
course, yeah.
types of other programs and initiatives that
Yeah.
SOSA works on.
That is awesome, because like we said, recovery is not just in the month of September. It is needed all year round,
Yes.
and you guys are available for everybody all year round.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Before I move on to the next part, and my favorite part of the show, okay, my absolute favorite part of the show, is there anything like you want to give some information to the community where they can, phone numbers they can call, website? We gave the website, but let's give it one more time.
Yeah, so go to sosaheal.org. That's SOSAHEAL.org. sosaheal.org, that's going to have all the information and all the resources for Santa Cruz County. That website was designed for our community. So, and there's some really cool stories and videos on there also, by the way.
Okay.
So go to
Awesome.
sosaheal.org. And then also I just wanted to say that it's also Suicide Awareness Month. Suicide impacts our community. It impacts people and families every single day.
Of course.
And, you know, it's something that we don't like to talk about, maybe something we're not comfortable talking about. But I just want to say, if you need help, if you need questions or anything, 988, you can call or text. That's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Utilize it if you are going through something, if someone you know is, you need information, you need help, you need advice, you're in crisis, please call or text 988.
So you reminded me about Suicide Prevention
Yeah.
Month, and this is something that I wanted to talk about again real quick, because I've always been very, very open about my mental health. Anybody who follows me on social media knows how open I am about my mental health. I've talked extensively. I've written about my own struggles with suicide attempts and things like that. I recently, to commemorate it, the 1 year, I got this tattoo on my wrist. It's Omnia sed mortem corrigi potest, which means all but death can be corrected. And it's a reminder to me that whatever mistakes are made, whatever struggles I'm going through, they're temporary, they can be fixed. But if I end it, that's the end. I can't fix anything.
Yeah.
I can't work to make anything better.
Yeah.
So, and the best part is when people thank me for, because there are a lot of people who there's always the stigma. There are people who come to me and say, why do you talk about that? Que vergüenza. You know, why do you tell people? You know, are you looking for attention? What is it? But then I get the person who comes up to me and says, I've been struggling silently my whole life. And sorry.
It's okay, Joe.
That's the reason why we do it.
I wasn't going to do this. One person, she came to me and she told me, I've been struggling silently my whole life. And when I see your posts and I read the things that you talk about, that you write about, it helps me to not feel alone.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay.
I'm going to say a saying to you. We recover out loud for those struggling in silence. That's why we do it. That's what we should.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. Thank you. That's perfect.
Remember it, because that's what you're doing.
Awesome. So yeah, if you are struggling with mental health, I mean, it doesn't even have to be to the point where you are thinking about taking that step. 988 is a perfect resource for that. And it's even a text resource now, from what I understand. It's fairly recent. I know that there used to be a
800
number, right? 1888 or 1-800, yeah. And within the last couple of years, they finally got it condensed to this 988.
988.
Yeah.
For adults, youth. There's also another one. It's 741. That's another option. But 988 is there. Trained professionals throughout the country that are there to help people. And like I said, even if you're not at that point, like you said, where there's a crisis moment, right? But if you just need information or a listening ear, 988 is there. And it's a great resource. On sosaheal.org, that information is there. And other warm lines or hotlines or crisis lines that are available for maybe more specific reasons or other types of issues. So yeah, just reach out.
For sure. All right. 988. One last thing that I wanted to ask you guys about. So is there a way people can contact Hope directly?
Yeah, you can actually, again, it can be done through the SOSA website, or you can call us directly at 520-287-9612.
Awesome. Perfect. Now, to lighten things up, right? We got real heavy there at the end.
For you, right? We're nervous.
That's why it's my favorite part.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Is it really hard? I'm sweating.
All right, so here comes the trivia. So as we mentioned at the beginning of this is Hispanic Heritage Month. And there are a lot of people, Hispanic people, Latinos, who have contributed so much to society, to culture in so many ways. And we see it all around us, and it goes ignored, it goes unrecognized, but we are here to recognize it right here, right now, by asking you guys questions you might not know the answers to. So this first one's easy, and it's a big part of Arizona, you know. So and it's a big part of Sonora too, okay? Because this person is from Sonora. All right. Who was the first Hispanic governor of the state of Arizona?
Governor.
He was also an ambassador to certain Latin American countries, to Argentina, and he died recently in 2015. He has a house in Nogales that was donated to the University of Arizona to be used for research, for anthropological research, sociological research, and stuff like that.
Joe. You said this would be easy.
If it was a person who was very famous before 2015, I was not paying attention.
Okay.
Honestly. That's where I barely started my recovery. I'm like, no.
All right. So Raúl Castro. Yeah, I knew as soon as I said it, you guys are going to be like, oh, of course. Yeah. All right.
Embarrassing. Okay.
So Raúl Castro, Sonorense, first Latino governor, an ambassador, did some incredible things, has an incredible legacy.
Awesome.
Now this is the hardest question on this, because I didn't know this one. This one I did not know, and I had to do some research. And I actually had to dive deep into the research to find out the actual answer, because the first answer that I got was actually wrong.
Okay.
The first one that I found was wrong, and well, I'll get into it once you guys have the answer. Who was the first Latino in space?
I know your face.
All right. So his name was Arnoldo Tamayo Mendez, and he went into space in 1980 in Cuba, and he was a cosmonaut with the program between Russia and Cuba during the communist years, the Iron Curtain years, which is one of the reasons why he's not so much recognized in the United States.
Okay.
But something that's also very incredible about him is he was the first person of African heritage to also go into space, because there's, as we all know, Cuba is
Right.
Afro-Latino, almost
Yeah.
across the board, right?
Wow.
So that's it's tragic that he's not recognized more,
Yeah.
but that's pretty awesome.
It is.
All right, now the first person of Hispanic heritage on the Supreme Court. Now she's still sitting on the Supreme Court. So this one she was appointed in 2009 by Barack Obama.
Yeah. I can see your face.
So yeah, see, that's the thing, right? It's like
See,
I
you know this one, yeah. Okay.
So
but it's the name, right? It's getting the
Joan,
name.
I'm gonna kill you. Why are you doing this to me?
That's my favorite part.
I
That's my
know.
favorite part, stumping people.
Wait,
I know this one
it's
too.
'cause I know it's.
Yeah, and I know, and I knew it was gonna be the same thing. As soon as I say the name, you guys are gonna know.
See.
Oh my
Okay, so I'll say this: both her first name and her last name start with S.
Yeah.
Okay, no, that just confused me more.
All right, yeah.
Right.
All right, Sonia Sotomayor.
Thank you,
Yep. There you
Okay.
go. I knew you guys had it.
I know.
That's why those two ones, they're ones that everybody knows,
Yeah.
but it's not like something you think about every day.
No.
So it's not on your mind, right?
Which is telling. We
Yeah.
all need to.
Now let's talk philosophy.
Yeah, that's such a philosophy. All right, guys.
I think it's an invitation for all of us to just
Right.
go be more aware or celebratory,
Right.
And just pay attention and
Yeah.
and it's things like not just to, oh, that's great and move on, right? Because we get information overload all the time, but I think it's important that we do a little bit more of a deep dive, right?
And I thought about throwing Frida Kahlo in there, but that's the easiest
Yeah.
one to do, right? For sure. And I didn't want to make it too easy for you guys.
It's actually, I think today or this week or this month, it's voter registration celebration. So I think that's a great time for all of us. Go make sure you're registered to vote.
Absolutely. For sure. I didn't
And-
actually know that.
Yeah, and make
Okay.
sure you know who you're voting for.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, research your candidates. That's one thing that I've been advocating for years is for people, when they go to the polls, show up informed.
Yeah.
Register to
That's huge.
vote first and foremost.
Yeah.
And show up and vote informed. Know who you're voting for. Know what they stand for.
Understand the issues.
Understand the issues. I mean,
Yeah.
now
and
this
healthcare is part of it. Healthcare, like voting and
Yes.
stuff, impacts the way healthcare is shaped and formed.
So much,
if
so much.
healthcare is something you care about, go register.
And all facets of healthcare, recovery included, and mental health, for sure. All right, guys. Thank you so much. This was a great episode, guys. I had such a great conversation with you guys. I
Likewise.
mean, I cried on camera.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Scary.
That's what made the show.
Great. Yeah.
It's
You're
I mean, I don't get embarrassed about it.
No.
It's there's nothing to be embarrassed about. I think that, and it feels good after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Therapeutic.
Authenticity is huge.
I'm glad you're here. You get
Yeah.
Thank
to
you. I'm
assist with the recovery process.
I'm
by
glad I'm
sharing
still
your
here too.
experience. You're a peer. That's what it
Yeah.
is.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Thank you, guys. All right. So yeah, we'll be back next week. It was like I said, we're back to our regular scheduled programming. I'm so excited to be putting out consistent episodes for you guys again. You guys know that this is I love doing this. I love this community. Pues soy nogalense through and through, fronterizo. It's who I am, and doing this is it fuels me for sure. All right. So see you guys next week.